We're not going to be cutting ribbons, we're going to be cutting costs. And so those recommendations are going to be on a real-time basis. But I do want to take a big step back and understand, for people to understand the scope of this problem. Over $500 billion in the first place. The Pentagon has just failed its 7th consecutive audit, nearly $1 trillion of budget. They can't even tell you where it goes. So I think part of this is exposing for the public the extent of that rot and waste. But then to take steps first through executive action and then laying the groundwork for broader change through legislation as well to rein in that deficit, to rein in that budget. And more crucially, Maria, I know we're talking about this in terms of efficiency, but there's something deeper going on here. This is about restoring self-governance and accountability in America as well. Elected leaders, if they make the wrong decisions, voters have a great choice. You can vote them out and remove them. Most of the people making these decisions, from healthcare to the Department of Defense, are failing on effectiveness because they have no accountability. Historically, it's been the view of many scholars to say that those people could not even be fired. Now we take a different view with the environment the Supreme Court has given us in recent years, and we're going to use that in a pretty extensive way, Maria, to move quickly.
You seen the intro. Imagine all that failing. Imagine you can't pass an audit, but you so sure that we should continue spending more money. This is why many people see when we send money to like Ukraine. This is an issue that happened even in Ukraine. There's a couple of government officials who got caught for embezzlement of these funds that we're sending to Ukraine. There's I forgot. I think Rand Paul mentioned that, hey, we need an inspector general to look over the budget and what you guys sending this money from, because you guys are not being upfront of, I can't tell us where the money goes, right? And this is a consistent problem throughout our government bureaucracy. And I think this is one of the reasons why I'm more excited, not just for the RFK stuff that I just finished doing a video on, but also what Vivek and Elon Musk are doing right now with this government efficiency Department of Government Efficiency, is because this is going to highlight to many voters, such as myself, many people who are not aware, like, end of the day, we blindly trust the government, and we, for some reason, there's this attitude in liberal circles, Democrat circles, not all of them, but it is this presumption that the liberal media takes that for some reason, when they, on the corruption scale, a government, a CEO, a private business owner is going to be more corrupt than a public official. This is how the media likes to portray this narrative. Oh no, government officials will never waste money. And you're going to see the astonishment of the liberal Jon Stewart, right? Jon Stewart, to me, he's what liberals used to be in a way. He's like a Bill Maher type, like I like to categorize them that. And when it comes to stuff that can't, like, this guy's pretty good. I'll give him that. He's pretty good at, like, yo, you messing up here. You're effing up here, right? And you're going to see it. He's going to talk with this government official. Let me make sure I get her name right. Not her name, but let me make sure I get her position right before we go into the clip so you guys will have the context. So she is the Democrat Deputy Defense Secretary, Kathleen Hicks. And check out her smug answer to a simple question I think many average Americans would ask our government bureaucrats. Let's take a look.
To be doing. Like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these pieces.
Then please educate me on
sure.
What
so an audit is exactly what you just described,
yes.
Which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit, or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit, is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now it's a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
yeah,
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure I didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went. Like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for.
Wow, the smug. Just because we can't tell you where $1 billion went missing doesn't suggest waste, abuse, or fraud. Yes, it does. Like, make it make sense. If my wife comes here and she's like, "Yo, Kenny, babe, we were supposed to pay the mortgage today, and I seen that we don't have enough money in our account to pay the mortgage. What happened to that money?" And I go, "Oh well, I don't know. But just because I don't know where the money went doesn't mean that I'm being wasteful of the money." Only a government official will believe that answer. Only a government official. Right? And they like to mock Elon Musk, Vivek. They say, "Oh my God, that's not even a real government position. You guys, y'all did all that work, Vivek, Elon. Y'all campaigned for Trump. Y'all did all this, and he didn't even give you an official government position." The liberals will be laughing. But look what y'all doing now. Yeah, y'all not doing like it's one thing. If y'all was doing good, like if American people was getting good outcomes from y'all guys, y'all was able to pass your audits. All the issues that Vivek and Elon are running on, they wouldn't be able to run on. This would have been preventative measures. But y'all did such a crappy job that y'all can't even manage yourselves. Like, tell me how $1 billion go missing. Yet then you wonder why there's food shortages in our military. Because y'all wasting money. Oh, this money was supposed to be for this, but we don't know where it go. But at the same time, you have leaks in your auditing system, but you continue demanding that that the government, taxpayer money, continues funding your stuff. To me, one policy I would recommend to Vivek and Elon as like maybe a policy, whatever, is that if an institution fails its audits, it automatically should get its budget should automatically get revisioned. Okay, all the things you can account for, we'll fund that, but everything, all the money you lost, until you find out why you're losing, why you lose track of our money, we can't fund these things until you resolve this thing. Put some like compliance, like there needs to be a compliance type of process within the government. Like you can't just keep losing $1 billion and then expect us to still give you the $1 billion that you keep losing. No way. That makes no logical sense. If I give my son $10 and he keeps losing the money, I'm gonna stop giving him money. But for some reason, we treat the government like, oh, it was a mistake. It won't happen again. But 7 times? 7 times? You failed an audit? You should lose budgeting right there. That's how it is in corporate America. If your managers and superiors cannot tell the CEO or the chief financial officer, hey, we gave $2.5 million as a budget for your department. What happened to this money here? There's like $200,000 missing. If your higher ups can't explain why there's $200,000 missing in that department, the CFO is going to investigate. And if he finds any impropriety, any misuse of funds, people's heads will be rolling. This is why when some people say, hey, we want the government to be run like a business, this is what we're talking about. But I digress. I don't want to go onto a tangent about the inefficient processes within our government that only serves to protect the people in these institutions from accountability, because that's what really it is. It's willing neglect. Oh, we being neglectful. We turning a blind eye. Yo, this is government corruption at its finest. And this is why I think many people are celebrating this Department of Government Efficiency and why we want it to succeed so much. But I digress. Let Vivek continue explaining the process of the Department of Government Efficiency. Let's continue.
I want to get your take on how this begins.
Sure.
What are you looking to cut right from the beginning?
So first is we want to go right in through executive action to do the failures of the executive branch that need to be addressed. Because the dirty little secret right now, Maria, is the people we elect to run the government, they're not the ones who actually run the government. It's the unelected bureaucrats in the administrative state. That was created through executive action. It's going to be fixed through executive action. Think about the Supreme Court's environment over the last several years. They've held that many of those regulations are unconstitutional at a large scale. Rescind those regulations, pull those regs back, and then that gives us the industrial logic to then downsize the size of that administrative state. And the beauty of all of this is that can be achieved just through executive action without Congress. Score some early wins, and then you look at those bigger portions of the federal budget that need to be addressed one by one. So I think that's.
And one thing I like too is that they're trying to gather a lot of young people. Like they made an X account, which I follow. If you follow me on X, I repost a lot of their stuff because at the same time that it's doing this, and this is so masterful from Elon Musk and Vivek, and this is how I'm interpreting what they're doing here, is that right now I see them almost like an advisory committee to the Office of Budgeting. I believe they have an office of budgeting in the U.S. in the government. They're telling Trump, hey, Trump, I think you need to do all this executive order. Okay. Trump does it. Boom. All right. Now we're going to go to Congress. Hey, Congress, you need to pass this bill here to force some accountability on these bureaucrats, because these unelected bureaucrats, they think no one should be touching their jobs. No, they're unaccountable. I just gave you a snippet. That's Jon Stewart. It's not a conservative person of my ideology. It's Jon Stewart asking a Democrat, deputy of defense, hey, there's a lot of waste in the government. You have to admit that. And she's telling him no. Imagine that. A bureaucrat trying to avoid accountability. Imagine that. But progressives, they so, oh my God, we must give government more power. You want to give these people more power, more control over your life? When it seemed like the more involved government becomes in these private matters, the worse these private matters get. I just finished going on a tirade on the whole fact of that the New York Times tried to falsely fact check RFK when he said that there's different ingredients in the U.S. compared to the Canada version, and then went on to explain within their own fact check the differences between Fruit Loops in the U.S. and Fruit Loops in Canada. Make it make sense. This is what we're dealing with as a citizen. And then when they see polls, oh my God, I don't understand why Americans has such a strong distrust of the media. Only Democrats trust the media at a majority percent. Everyone else, none. Independents, none. Independents, most of them don't trust the mainstream media. Republicans definitely don't trust the mainstream media. 58% of Democrats trust legacy media. Only Democrats are listening to this stuff. And then Democrats are now starting to realize in 2024, yo, these people are full of ish. How many examples do I have to go through? Because I think if there's one thing, if there's one message that people will know me for on this channel, is the fact that I can recognize patterns. And I've been recognizing a strong pattern with the mainstream media, is that it seems like, yo, you guys are nothing but an arm of the Democratic Party. If the Democratic Party calls somebody weird, all of a sudden, every liberal pundit is calling them weird. When you have an institution, you have a institution of journalism, when only 3.2% of your journalists are registered Republicans, you have a political alignment problem. You have a partisan problem in media.
That's one way to think about this, is how can the president of the United States, who's been elected with a historic mandate, actually do the thing that the voters have voted for? They haven't voted for incremental change here this time, Maria. We have voted for sweeping change, and the voters actually deserve to get it. And we're focused on how to do that as early and as quickly as possible.
So President-elect Trump just said on that soundbite that you're going to make recommendations. So you're going to make recommendations in terms of where to cut after all that you've just said. Then what?
Look, we're not going to be cutting ribbons. We're going to be cutting costs. And so those recommendations are going to be on a real-time basis. But I do want to take a big step back and understand, for people to understand the scope of this problem. Over $500 billion that's spent every year right now was not even authorized by Congress in the first place. The Pentagon has just failed its 7th consecutive audit.
How can you reward that? You failed 7 audits? All of us here who's in the sound of my voice, all of us who's working, right? It don't matter where you work, retail, hospitality, it don't matter where you work. If you can't explain to your boss, hey, I noticed that every time I sent you out to redo inventory, stuff goes missing. Why is that? If you can't answer that question, you lose your job. But a government official who the stakes are even higher in some cases, like this is the Pentagon, right? You failed 7 audits and no firearms go off. Nothing, nada, nothing goes off. And I think this is the second point, goes to my second point about D.O.G.E. The reality is, I think it's meant to be a sounding board to know that, because at the end of the day, they already got 1 million followers, I think, on that X account. It's to highlight to the average American citizen. It's to educate the American people that, hey, this is what your government is doing. Do you agree with all this stuff? Do you agree your government should be able to do this? Do you agree that your government should be able to send $200,000 to New York Department of Education to teach transgender ideology in public schools in New York? Do you agree with sending money, any kind of money into that venture? Many Americans will say no. Do you agree with Joe Biden spending $1.2 million for studies to challenge the notion that there's two genders? Do you agree with spending that much money on that? And then you start finding all these pet projects that's being funded. And you're like, for what? Only department where it in its construction is saying, hey, we're going to blow up. We're going to be done at 2026. And then we're dissolving. Make it, wow. I wish other governments are doing that. And I think that should be a standard. Like, just like we want term limits, there should be term limits for these bureaucracies. Hey, 10 years, there need to be a revision on, okay, let's look at how much, let's look at the outcomes of you creating it. For instance, the Department of Education. Department of Education, you're set to review, we're going to review your department in 2008. Let's play a game because it was created in the 70s. 30 years later, oh yeah, it's time for the setting hearing to justify if we continue with the Department of Education. Since the Department of Education, this was our educational standing before you was created. This is our education standing after you were created. We went from number 1 in education before you were created, Department of Education, all the way to 24th. Can you explain why that is, Department of Education? And the Department of Education will literally have to justify its own existence. I think that needs to be the norm going forward. That's just me thinking out of my head. That's just me. If someone wants to take that idea, go ahead, take it. That moving forward, all of these departments have to do a revision, like a kind of audit, like outcome audit. Like, okay, here's all the statistics. Here's all the things that you're supposed to be governing. Why are we seeing worse results? And if they can't explain to you, dissolve it. If they can't justify their existence, dissolve it. That's it. That's what corporations do. Oh, we went to a bad product. The market doesn't want it. Dissolve the department. Sorry, people lose their jobs. But that's how it is in the private market. Our public servants shouldn't be treated better than the people who's over them, us. So if we experience that, why the hell we worried about, oh my God, government officials might lose their job? American citizens, we all been laid off, fired, had to leave jobs before. You telling me government officials can't do that too? And it shows that there's no real work. And I know I'm going all over the place, but it really pisses me off how inefficient the government is, right? Because like Thomas Sowell has said, someone I look up to a lot, Thomas Sowell says, yo, governments, they make bad decisions because they never face the consequences of being wrong. And I think it's time for them to face the consequences of being wrong. This is why RFK has been in there. Hey, yo, this is probably the reason why Matt Gaetz is in there. That's probably why Tulsi is being appointed in there. This is why Pete Hegseth is being appointed in there. And they're trying to label him a white supremacist because he has Christian tattoos. Like, these people, bro, anything to defend you because they're trying to protect this. They're trying to dodge accountability. They don't want to be held accountable for nothing. They just got slacking in the electoral college, and they're still sitting here telling you how, no, the American people is the one that's misguided, not us. Covert narcissism. I digress. Let's finish out the video.
Audit, nearly $1 trillion of budget. They can't even tell you where it goes. So I think part of this is exposing for the public the extent of that rot and waste, but then to take steps first through executive action and then laying the groundwork for broader change through legislation as well to rein in that deficit, to rein in that budget. And more crucially, Maria, I know we're talking about this in terms of efficiency, but there's something deeper going on here. This is about restoring self-governance and accountability in America as well.
Are you expecting to close down entire agencies, like President Trump has talked about the Department of Education, for example? Are you going to be closing down departments?
We expect mass reductions. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. We expect mass reductions in force in areas of the federal government that are bloated. We expect massive cuts among federal contractors and others who are overbilling the federal government. So yes, we expect all of the above. And I think people will be surprised by, how quickly we're able to move with some of those changes, given the legal backdrop the Supreme Court has given us.
I can't wait, bro. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. I can't wait to see how the government is going to try and wiggle their way out of this. I'm all for it. 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for a lot of us, right? And the fact that, Biden already Biden, I might have to do another video on Biden, right? He authorized missiles to be launched at Russia and Vladimir Putin already announced that he took this as an escalation of war. So maybe we'll get World War III as a parting gift from Joe Biden. Who knows? I mean, we had to trust Obama on this. Never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to F things up. So, hey, but y'all wanted him president. The most popular president in U.S. history, Joe Biden. That's for another video, guys. I got that video coming, maybe later on today. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you excited for DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency? What one thing you know that the government wastes a lot of money on, and that you're in disbelief that they waste our money on this stuff, right? And there's a lot of those things. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to see what you guys think about the bloat in our government, the apparent corruption in our government, the fact that they fail to apparently be accountable to themselves. How you fail 7 audits and there's no accountability? Make that make sense. Like, it's so backwards how it works in the government, and it's no wonder they produce such bad outcomes in our lives. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.